Hey there, hi there, ho there. Welcome to the latest episode of Sports Frenzy 2.0. I am joined as always by the man, the myth, the legend, the conquistador, Dave Height.
Hey kids, welcome back.
I am the maestro, Kevin Crane. And of course, I don't like doing this. This hurts me as much as it does Dave. But we have to, of course, start off here on April the 5th, 2023, hitting tomorrow morning, the 6th, with the results of a very boring, very dull NCAA basketball tournament. Why is it dull? Because UConn blew through everybody.
They barrel rolled everyone.
And the man here to my right deserves kudos. He picked UConn to win the whole thing. And believe me, it's not as easy as you think to pick the champion.
But Doug, the governor, also picked UConn in our pool. And because Texas and Kansas State crapped the bed, we fell to the tiebreaker on total score. Doug was closer on that. So Doug wins our...
We win the Frenzy Madness.
The Frenzy Madness.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't have a fancy name for the trophy.
No, just the Frenzy Madness. But it's maddening. 2 shots there going into for the Final Four slots. K-State and Texas both let me down.
And I'll tell you what, the first 5 minutes of the championship game, when they both, San Diego State and UConn, came out like a house on fire, I thought you might get that high-scoring game. Yeah, but then San Diego State went on this abysmal cold streak where they could not score, and then I knew, crap, it's over, it's all over. So,
yep.
UConn wins 76-59. Average margin of victory, 20 points. Who was closest? Miami, and they still got beat by 13.
Yeah, Miami actually made a game of it for the first half in that Final Four matchup.
Well, San Diego State got within 5 at one point.
Yeah, but then UConn just takes over.
Yep.
They're so deep. They rotate everybody through. They got 2 big guys who can play, and they know how to use them. Purdue should take notes on that.
Yeah, Purdue has got a lot of issues. They come in every year as a heavy favorite. This year they were a number 1 seed. They are now undoubtedly the biggest chokers in the NCAA.
Yep.
Upper echelon,
because
shall we say.
You would think, as touted as they are, as storied a program as they are.
And Matt Painter's been there for a long time.
Look at the history with Gene Cady having been there forever. They've never won.
Yep. And the sad thing is, you could even carry that over to football with them.
Yeah.
Given all the talent they have had, especially at the quarterback position. Drew Brees, Jim Everett.
Yep.
I mean, there's no reason Purdue should not have had at least one title in either football or basketball by now.
Yeah.
But congrats again to UConn. Now, the problem with this whole deal was sports fans are smart. That's not the problem. The problem is people like me, people like Dave, pretty much figured that they were going to destroy San Diego State. So, at least live, we didn't tune in. And, of course, if I could call them out for being dumbasses, can we have like a rotating each and every year dumbass? Because they do the same thing over and over and over again. The NCAA and CBS, each and every year, let's have a 9:20 tip for the men's title game. Everybody knows it's bullshit. Everybody says
ridiculous.
On the East Coast especially, we're not staying up for this.
The vast majority of your viewers, it's too damn late.
All because you want to let the West Coasters scurry home so they can watch it at 5:20 or 6:20. I'm sorry. That would be 6:20 for them. Give them a little over an hour to fight off all the traffic on the 405, on the Pacific Coast Highway. Make sure they can get home.
How about we just do away with the Monday night college championship games and solve the frickin' problem?
Why can't we go Friday, Sunday instead of Saturday, Monday?
That would be too damn smart.
And plus,
and
you don't have to go up against
earlier.
WrestleMania.
Yeah, you're not really dealing with anything. You could have a late afternoon tip-off.
The NFL has always understood this. They get it. That's why they kick off the Super Bowl at 6:30 on Sunday. They understand it. They get it. NCAA
so
never gets it, never understands how they alienate. So, to my point, this ended up being the lowest rated men's final ever. Because of the late tip time, because of the fact that we all knew it was going to be a blowout.
Yep, we talked about that Final Four game between UConn and Miami was the one for the championship.
Yep. And I'm not trying to disparage San Diego State. They won every game. They made a
hell of a run.
Now, they were coming from behind every time. Came from behind against Creighton. Came from behind against Florida Atlantic. But UConn, again, like you said, too strong. You're not going to pull that crap with that team.
Nope, not at all.
And, of course, it was the final game ever in college basketball for Jim Nance.
Goodbye, friend. It's all right. We got him this week for the Masters.
Yeah. Yeah. I just still feel bad for him having to deal with Tony Romo.
Oh, my God. I know.
Every Sunday. From September through January.
Is he secretly trying to figure out a way to sever Romo's brake lines and bring Greg Olson over to work with?
Jesus. I don't know. Again, I've said it in the past. Romo brings Nance down to his level, and I hate that.
He does. That's so bad.
Nance starts acting like a little giggly schoolgirl whenever Tony says something crazy.
I think it's written in his contract that he has to placate the doofus.
Now, unfortunately, and I hate to say this because where we're talking about how the men's game, the men's tournament, was a foregone conclusion for the last week or so, and the ratings for the championship game were low. On the women's side, we should be celebrating because the women's championship game between Iowa and LSU was for them it was blockbusters. It was great ratings.
Two programs that weren't expected to contend.
Again, a 180
to the occasion.
Again, a 180 compared to the men. They got their largest audience ever.
Yeah.
For Iowa and LSU. Now it was a blowout. Again, LSU won 102-85 over Iowa, but unfortunately, in this pathetic, garbage world we live in, everything has to be all the crap that happened outside of the game itself. We've got a classless LSU team where Kim Mulkey does not tell her players, go shake hands after the game with Iowa.
They should have done that.
And then, of course, you've got this scuzzbag, Angel Reese. And I am talking about a young woman, I don't care. She's exemplary of the problems with our society today. Not even the top player, not even one of the top 3 players on her team. Yet she steals all the headlines by being, I'm sorry for the language, a little bitch. She has to do the John Cena, you can't see me, to Caitlin Clark.
She did that because Caitlin Clark had done it in a previous game, advancing. And she was all that. And so it was kind of a, hey, right back at you.
You can defend her, just like
I'm
Shaq,
just saying,
but
I'm
not going to.
All I'm saying is in that regard, you cannot call her out without calling Clark out for doing the same damn thing.
I can, because it was a different situation. Clark did not do it in somebody's face. Clark just did it off to the side in general. This was definitely different. This was racism. She's a scumbag. And especially when you start looking at the follow-up.
A lot of her other comments, she is way off the rails.
And that's what I'm saying. She's taking advantage of this notoriety she's gotten now by being a little cocky scumbag. And I'm sorry for the language, but I hate people like this. Male, female, black, white, I don't care. When you don't show any sportsmanship whatsoever, you piss me off. I don't care if you think the handshake line is antiquated. Number one, her coach is to blame for not making them go and shake hands with Iowa. But now Angel Reese she's got to pick fights with the first lady. Now, I don't have a problem with what the first lady wanted to do.
Oh, I do. It's absolute crap. You're placating into the everybody wins, everybody gets a trophy mentality if you're gonna try and invite
you and I are completely opposite on this. I think she just misspoke. I think, and how I feel about the Bidens.
They're allowed to misspeak.
You know how I feel about the Bidens.
I do not give Jill Biden a pass on that. It was an absolute shit thing to do.
Of course, if you don't know, Jill Biden actually wanted to invite both LSU and Iowa to the White House. Now, number one, she's not the one that makes that call. And of course, they backtracked on it. And to a point, I agree with you that it's the mentality of give everybody a trophy. But I think she just sincerely misspoke.
I think she and her husband are both mental midgets who need to go away. People have got to stop making excuses for these morons.
I'm not arguing with you on that. I am not arguing with you. I just think
she is so freaking out of touch, it's not even funny.
In the grand scheme of things that they have said, her and her husband, this is very low on the totem pole.
But it just goes with everything else they do.
But again, I don't understand how you can defend Angel Reese. She is the problem with this society.
She's a
racist.
She's
got a bad attitude. She has no sportsmanship in her core at all. And of course,
you're right. And in that regard, you are right. She has just gone down the rabbit hole of hell.
And of course, she's got very, very prominent people sticking up for her. Stephen A. Smith, who I still to this day don't understand how this guy got a job. All he does is scream and yell. And if you dare say anything bad about him. What are you saying, Dave? Hypocrite money? No. No, but Stephen A. Smith, he gets paid a lot of money to scream. We don't get paid to scream and yell. We do this because we've been doing this for 30 years because of our passion for sports. He's doing it for a paycheck. And anytime you dare cross him,
whatever he can to cause controversy.
You dare cross him, I'm going to send my posse after you. He is him and Angel Reese can both have their seats on the plane of doom, in my opinion. I'm more than happy to make 2 reservations for them. And on top of that, my man Shaq, now he's biased because it's LSU, his alma mater. But now, normally I would be all with Shaq because he ripped into Keith Olbermann, that walking douchebag of a human being, because Keith Olbermann actually ripped into Angel Reese like I am. But then here's how spineless Keith Olbermann is. The minute he started to get pushback from Shaq and from Stephen A. Smith, I'm sorry, I didn't know the full story. You spineless, gutless, testicle-missing bitch. You are a absolute piece of garbage. If you say it, you stick up for yourself. That's what we do. We don't apologize. We say, and I'm telling you right now, fuck Shaq, fuck Stephen A. Smith. I don't like Angel Reese. She was out of line. She was off the rails. I don't care what Dave thinks. He and I can agree to disagree.
Exactly.
And I'm not backing up. I'm not a little Keith Olbermann. Oh, I'm sorry, Shaq. I didn't mean to say anything bad about your girlfriend like you. Can I buy you a pastry?
A big
Stick up for yourself. You idiot. This is why nobody on CNN or CNBC will even touch you. Because you got no balls. See, this is what I told you, kids. The women's championship,
much more
controversial,
exciting.
more exciting.
People are talking about the women's championship.
They watched it. They watched
it.
And again, we'll get to Dawn Staley later, but how happy was I to see that racist not make it to the championship game.
That was a beautiful thing.
All right, so let's move over to the professionals. Hall of Fame class of 2023 announced. And boy, was it a Spurs love fest, or was it a Spurs love fest?
Good God. You would think nobody else had ever played for another team.
You get Greg Popovich, in and of himself, a douchebag of a human being. Great coach.
Great coach. Fantastic coach, but he's a piece of garbage.
An awful human being. An awful human being. Tony Parker, of course, point guard for his championship teams with Greg Popovich. Becky Hammon, great female basketball player. Of course, now looking to become the first female head coach in the NBA, disciple of Greg Popovich.
The coach.
And of course, Pau Gasol, having himself one hell of a year after getting his number retired by the Lakers. Now he's going into the Basketball Hall of Fame. He, of course, played for the Spurs. You seeing a pattern here, kids?
Yep, Greg Popovich is a great coach who got the most out of everybody and makes everybody better on the court. On the court.
Yes.
Being the operative word.
He's another one of these people that we talk about, not only here, but on the weekend edition. Check it out Saturday morning, by the way, when we're talking about celebrities in Hollywood. Another one of these people that thinks they're smarter than you and I. And they're not. They have a microphone in front of them. Oh, wait.
Once again.
Wow, I am just...
You're just stepping into it tonight.
Size 12, foot in mouth for the maestro. But he's just like Steve Kerr. Now, Steve Kerr, a little bit more of a background, with what's happened to his parents overseas with terrorism. He has a little bit different perspective. I still don't like it. I still think he's a weenie. But Greg Popovich, I heard somebody today actually call him out as a bully. And I think that's a very good
very
word.
Well put.
Yes, he's a bully. He's like Jim Boeheim, who thank God we're finally rid of.
Amen.
The guy who has no problem stepping up to the podium post-game and berating the reporters because they didn't ask him the perfect question at the perfect time.
Or would call him out for inadequacies.
Yeah. So, again, great coach, deserving to be in the Hall of Fame, not a good person. Now, we mentioned Gene Cady earlier. He got into the Hall of Fame because, again, remember, basketball, it's college, it's pros, it's all of it.
All of basketball.
Right. International, the whole thing.
Yeah.
So Purdue's Gene Cady gets in. Now, the two big names, in my opinion, who got in, Dirk Nowitzki from the Mavericks and Dwayne Wade from the Heat. Very deserving.
Yes, very.
And I looked at the stats. And to me, there's one very simple key to a no-doubt Hall of Famer in the NBA. Over your career, average 20 points a game. Then we can move you up to the next level of discussion. Dirk, Dwayne, both over 20 points a game. Pau Gasol, well under 20 points. I don't see that. What is going on with the love fest with this guy this year?
I have no idea.
His numbers are, and now Becky Hammond's numbers are nothing spectacular either. But again, when you start looking at the WNBA, we've talked about this in the
numbers
past.
Aren't there.
Yeah. But Pau Gasol's numbers are just not that impressive.
I always thought he was one of those big guys that kind of got knocked around and just was kind of there, taking up space and not being that.
Was he ever the leader of a team? No. Dirk was. Dwayne Wade was. Pau was always the second or third
usually
guy on the roster.
Third guy.
Right.
At best.
So, I'm sorry. I don't get the love for Pau Gasol. You can even make an argument against Tony Parker.
What was his international numbers like? Is that where they're coming from?
Well, it could be. Like we said, the Basketball Hall of Fame is...
See, I heard discussion on
everybody
the radio.
Everywhere.
Yeah, there was a discussion I heard on the radio wanting to know how in the hell the NBA figures out who they're going to nominate and how they're going to vote in. It's all so hush, hush, secret. Nobody can figure it out. So there you go.
All right, now, this I love, wrapping up the NBA. Very quietly, the NBA and the National Basketball Players Association came to a 7-year collective bargaining agreement. You know, not nearly the vitriol we hear from baseball
or football. But
here's where I laugh. And again, Adam Silver, the most spineless alien.
Okay, we'll let you have whatever you want. Just keep playing.
We've talked for the last few years about load management. And we've talked about how these players sit, especially on the road, denying the fans
in other cities an opportunity to see them play.
And of course, LeBron James is the number one perpetrator of this. So, Adam Silver. I'm going to bring the hammer down. Bring the hammer down. So the new 7-year collective bargaining agreement, 82-game season, right?
Yep.
You do the math, kids. 82-game season. Adam Silver and his cronies and the owners and everybody, you better play in 65 games. Otherwise, you're not eligible for postseason awards. So you could still take 17 games off.
That is absolutely ridiculous.
And of course, there's qualifications because, of course, injuries don't count.
Oh, bullshit.
No, you literally can take 17 games off
and
still be eligible for MVP.
That is absolute garbage. Absolute crap.
But he's putting his foot down.
No, you're a dipshit who can't figure it out.
Still.
Go back to Alpha Centauri or whatever frickin' cosmos universe you came from.
Yeah, go find some other planet to do anal probes on and leave us alone. It's
idiot.
It's ridiculous to act like this is any kind of deterrent to the whole load management problem. Do you know what the deterrent would be? No legitimate injury. You want to sit? You don't get paid.
Your paycheck.
You don't get paid. Oh, but we can't do that. God forbid we do that. Anybody else doesn't show up to work, we don't get paid.
We could get fired.
Oh, what? Let's give them vacation days?
During the frickin' season.
They get months off in the off season. They don't need or get vacation days.
Ugh.
It's pathetic. It's pathetic.
It's ridiculous.
Couple minutes left here. Do you want to talk about your beloved Blackhawks in the NHL?
How they screwed up by winning the other night to get into a 3-way tie for the worst record. So now they've just shot themselves for the chance to increase their odds for the number 1 overall pick. There's a handful of games left. You suck. Just lose out. There's no point. Ugh,
25,
idiots still
46,
can't
and
freaking
6.
figure it out.
25, 46, and 6, 56 points, as Dave said.
Tied with Columbus and San Jose.
I'm sorry, again. I'm bringing up a lot of bad things for you this week.
Yeah,
I don't mean to.
That's all right. So, hey, remember the wheelchair incident?
Yes, where we went above and beyond just a regular dumbass of the week.
Yeah, he became the asshole of the week. No, Carson Briere, son of NHL, the Flyers Briere interim GM, dismissed from Maplehurst hockey program 3 weeks after the incident.
Well, they had to have time to examine all sides of the incident.
Bullshit. He should have been shit-canned within the week when the video came out.
It's amazing how we live in a reactionary society, yet it always takes so long in situations where it's so obvious.
When it's cut and dry on tape, what the hell are we doing? May 22nd is the court date for his criminal mischief charge. Ugh, that still pisses me off thinking about it.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, Donald Trump's trial will not happen till after the election in 2024.
God.
So,
yeah, there's
the wheels of justice grind very slowly.
Yeah, and there's another dipshit. Trump now, defund the FBI and the Department of Justice. You freaking idiot. But we digress.
Finally, to wrap up segment 1, for once, not really anything to talk about in the NFL except John Elway has parted ways with the Denver Broncos.
Probably a good thing for the Broncos.
Under the new ownership group, they inherited his contract as a consultant. It expired when the new league year started.
And they said, bye-bye. Don't let the door hit you, John. Thanks for all you've done for the organization.
He did win a Super Bowl, not only on the field, but up in the owner's box.
Kind of.
Well, he was basically blindfolded throwing darts, and he got lucky enough to hit on Peyton Manning.
Yeah, he lucked out making that deal. But for the most part, he did not do much for that team on the personnel front.
No, again, that was the one...
the one good thing he did.
The blind pig finding a truffle.
Yeah, because deal. How many quarterbacks did he F up on?
How many other ones?
And he got Peyton on free agency.
Yep.
Open the checkbook.
Yep. So I agree with you. I agree with you to that extent that I think it's better for the Broncos to move on from that chapter.
Absolutely.
Let Sean Payton run things now. You know, let Russ cook. And we still have not heard anything about Aaron Rodgers to the Jets. Nope. Now there are rumors out there that the 49ers are ready to
be ready.
Swoop in.
We'll see what happens.
They might swoop in.
It's all right. I hear Mac Jones is available. How stupid was he to go to Alabama and ask for help when Saban is one of Belichick's proteges? Dude.
I know, and you and I might disagree on this because
I don't have a problem with it because Belichick fucked up by putting Matt Patricia, a defensive guy, in charge of the offense. That's all on Belichick, not on Mac Jones. Mac Jones wanted to improve the team. Belichick fucked up. Good for Mac Jones.
Yeah, see, that's where I'm coming from, is that once you make an egregious error like that and put Matt Patricia in charge of the offense, Mac Jones is just trying to become a better player. And he's like, I can't do it with this guy.
What do I need to do to make this better? All right. More Sports Frenzy coming up in segment 2. We'll be right back.
Feeling mildly fatigued? Need a day off even if you just took one a few days ago? Make $30 million a year but just don't want to work for it? You need to join the NBA Load Management Club right now. When they're not napping or texting, guest lecturers Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving will describe foolproof ways to earn tens of thousands of dollars by not doing anything. Sports Frenzy 2.0, available on Spotify, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Casts, and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, is currently negotiating with LeBron James to bring his popular How to Make the Hall of Fame Without Really Trying webinar live and in person to the Load Management Club. Thanks again to Sports Frenzy 2.0 and all you apathetic fans out there for making us a success.
Hey kids, welcome back. Segment 2 of Sports Frenzy 2.0. I'm the Conquistador, Dave Height.
I'm the maestro, Kevin Crane.
Here we are recording April 5th, 2023. This will drop April 6th. Thursday, as always, on Spotify, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Amazon, Audible, Apple, Overcast, Castbox, and Stitcher! Major League Baseball is now underway. We're about a week in. Pitch clock, all of that fun stuff, the new rules, no shift.
The pitch clock got its first victim, and then it got its second victim today, but we'll get to that later.
We've got a lot of stuff going on.
Injuries, suspension. So before we get to our teams, let's talk first about the early season injuries that seem to be affecting some of the bigger teams, like Justin Verlander can't even start the season for the New York Mets.
How's that big free agent signing going for you, jackass?
Especially when you look at how their other older $40 million pitcher is performing so far this year. Just got lit up the other night by the Brewers, back-to-back home runs from arguably the best pitcher of the last decade and a first ballot Hall of Famer in Max Scherzer. But he has got, I'm telling you, he's got a dead arm. He's had this problem
talked about it
since 2 years ago in the postseason with the Dodgers when he wouldn't pitch on short rest.
He couldn't. And now you know why. Father Time has caught up with him.
Justin Verlander on the 15-day IL with a teres major strain. You know what that is, kids?
That's
he pulled his armpit. He pulled his armpit muscle.
That's what he gets for reaching around his wife and copping a feel.
Well, you got to stretch to get around those bad boys.
I know, that's what I'm telling you.
Those puppies, it takes, you got to stretch everything out there. Yeah. He's still a lucky man. He is still a lucky man.
Yep, Mr. Kate Upton.
Yep. So Verlander doesn't even start the season healthy for the Mets. He's on the IL. Max Fried, opening day injury for the ace of the Braves rotation. He's got a hamstring issue. He is on the 15-day IL. Now, this is one of those where you can debate. You can talk about snowflakes. You can talk about the way the world is now. Rockies closer, Daniel Bard, does not start the season on the active roster on the 15-day IL because of anxiety.
Really? Really?
Yes. And I have always said...
That's not somebody you want going forward as a closer.
And I have always said...
You need somebody who is a strong mental capacity to be a closer. And if he's here, you gotta look on, you gotta move him somewhere else in the bullpen and find somebody else.
And I have always said, I completely think every human being should have access to affordable mental health care. You should be able to talk to a shrink, a psychotherapist once a week, once a month, whatever you need. But I completely concur with the conquistador here. At some point, you've got to say, if you can't handle the stress, then you shouldn't be in the role.
Exactly.
Now, speaking of not being able to handle stress.
Well, I was going to say another injury popped up for the White Sox. Yes, another hamstring issue for Eloy Jimenez. Rounding bases on Monday, pulled something, he's gone for a while. Here we go again. Can't frickin' stay healthy.
Well, then let's go to our teams, since you started in on it, and then we'll come back later to the other stuff, the ejections and the suspensions.
So I was just carrying on with the injury segment.
Right. Now the White Sox,
after today, 3-3, happy to get a split opening weekend down in Houston with the Astros. Dylan Cease looked abso-freaking-lutely phenomenal.
Good today as well.
Lance Lynn, not bad. Giolito, scuffled.
And this is a money year for him.
It is. Scuffled in his first outing.
To me, he's got to be, from the outside looking in, he's got to be a major disappointment. A couple years ago, he looked like
he went
was
from the worst
the
pitcher in baseball to being one of the top pitchers in baseball, and he regressed last season. I don't know what we're going to get from him this year. And then Clevenger looked ugly early, but he settled in.
And I'll tell you something.
And then,
given his history that we've been discussing here recently and how he just skirted around trouble, big trouble.
Yeah.
I watched some of that game where he pitched. He looks like the type of guy who would live in a trailer park and beat his wife. Sorry.
He does. I do not disagree with you at all.
He does not look like a fully functional, intelligent human being. He's got the neck tattoo.
No, he looks like he should be in a trailer park doing meth with an open six-pack by his Barker lounger.
Which is not inside. It's outside. On the
exactly.
little scrub patch of lawn that they call their own.
With his rusted out Camaro on blocks.
His 20-year-old Weber grill rusting.
Upside down.
Yep. Yeah, I did watch some of that, and you're right. It was a very ugly but effective start for him.
Yeah, and then Kopech just got his ass handed to him. Probably tipping pitches. That's the only way that Giants lineup could have teed off on him the way they did. But if he can't, I don't know how long we have to wait for him to figure it out. How much time do you give him at this point? We'll have to wait and see.
Now, the big news today, of course, we talked about pitch clock ejections.
Yep. The other day, Manny Machado got ejected when he tried to call time with eights. When he was supposed to be in the box, he tried to call time. The ump said, nope, called out on strikes for the violation. He argued, got booted. Today, Tim Anderson, as the clock winding down, he tried to call timeout. As the pitch came through, the umps rung him up. He got pissed. Mouthed off on the way back, mouthed off in the dugout, and got ejected. Tim, the team needs you. How you go is how the Sox go. You need to rein your damn mouth in. I don't care how upset you get. Shut the hell up, especially from the dugout. Every time you get tossed, it's from the dugout. Keep your damn emotions in check. Umps they're not required to acknowledge your timeout. Just because you ask, they don't have to give it to you. Especially as the clock is winding down when you have to get in the box. You can't get this last second timeout bullshit. Just stop across the board. Live within the new rules and deal with it.
And that's what I wanted to bring up. Not trying to pick on Tim Anderson. Tim Anderson is an incredible talent, but he has these issues 3, 4, 5 times a year, it seems like, where his temper gets the best of him.
Yep.
And I wanted to bounce that off of you and ask you, where are the scales with you? Is it worth it? Is it not worth it?
Unfortunately, it has to be worth having him. Like I said, as he goes, the team goes. If he's in there at the top of the lineup, I mean, he's got, I didn't see the stat line today. If he got a hit today, he's hitting every game so far this year. He is the table setter that you have to have.
Moncada, you got to be happy with his start.
Oh my God. Yeah, this is the best offensive start he's had. He was the one over the offseason that I said, if you can, trade him.
Yep. I remember
whatever
that.
you
Yep.
can get, because he does not show up. He has not produced to the level of his ability. So far this year, I think the World Baseball Classic was the best thing for him to get him into the swing of things in real competition, and it's carried over. So very happy with Moncada.
Yeah, and so right now, from what I saw today in the standings for the AL Central, it looks kind of like what we expected. You know, the Twins, the Indians in the front.
Yeah, and they've had kind of the more cakewalk schedule.
Yeah, Sox
right,
lurking in the middle, but lurking.
Yeah,
and then of course the Tigers and the Royals suck ass,
as expected.
I don't understand why Bill took the Royals.
I don't know. He buried himself. What's the old adage? You can't win a championship. You can't win a championship in the first 2 weeks of the season, but you sure as hell can lose it.
Yeah, what I'm talking about is in our Field of Frenzy competition, where we pick baseball teams every week over the 26-week season. Oh, by the way, I took the Tampa Bay Rays 6-0. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Bill took the Kansas City Royals, and I just don't understand that pick. Everybody else, the other 7 panelists, myself included, I get the Padres, I get the Braves, I get the Mets, but I would never, I don't see any situation, any week where I would take the Royals, the Tigers, the Reds, the Rockies.
The only time would be as if they have 4 games against the A's.
And the A's are actually not playing terrible.
With their AAA fielded team.
Right.
There are AAA ball clubs drawing better attendance than the Oakland A's.
Hopefully soon to be the Las Vegas A's. Let's hope.
They're still not going to pour any money into that team.
That's got to be a qualification. You have got to get as close to 30 viable teams in baseball as you can. That's how you fix things. We ripped on Adam Silver in the last segment with the NBA. Now we can rip on Rob Manfred. Rob Manfred has got to get everybody spending money, making their teams viable.
Yeah, and if we said Adam Silver had no balls, Rob Manfred, I don't know what the hell we can do about him.
Rob Manfred's got a vagina.
There you go.
Mangina.
Oh, he's just useless.
As opposed to a vajanko.
God.
Now, one of the worst contracts of all time, and we'll get to the Cubs in a second.
It's not Bobby Bonilla Day yet.
Well, we'll get to Jason Hayward in a minute, but one of the worst contracts of all time was the money shelled out by the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim to Anthony Rendon.
Yeah, that was brutal.
Coming over from the Nationals, and of course, he's never healthy, and when he is healthy, he barely produces. Well, the frustration must be getting to him, because we get a couple games into the season, a fan calls him a bitch, and Rendon can't just be a professional and walk away. Listen, I understand a lot of these fans at these games are assholes. They get liquored up. They say stupid crap. They do it in the NBA. They do it in the NFL. They do it in baseball.
But you know what?
Be the better man. You're the one.
You're the one who is a bitch because you never show up. You took all the money.
You're still getting, 25, 30 million a year?
And you don't do a damn thing.
Guaranteed money to do nothing.
Of course the fans are pissed at you because you're ruining the run. They can't bring anybody else in.
So, of course, he takes a swipe at the guy. And, of course, they go through the appeal process really quickly this time, which kind of shocked me. Originally suspended 5 games for this fan confrontation, knocked it down to 4. So he gets 4 more games off. Now, I think he does not get paid for this.
He does not get paid for these.
All right, I mentioned Jason Hayward. Of course, the Cubs are still paying him. Thank God the last year that albatross of a contract is on the books. And, of course, he hits back-to-back home runs this week for the Dodgers for the first time in, I believe, 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, where did that power come from? I want him tested.
Well, I'll say this. Cubs 2-3, rained out today in Cincinnati. I will say this. Still overpaid, but Dansby Swanson, I think, has got more hits already in the first week of his first year with the Cubs than Hayward had in 6 months in his first year with the Cubs. Swanson's hitting like 500 right now.
Yep, a good signing there.
Yeah, and the problem with the Cubs, I can't pinpoint it yet. It's only 5 games in. Pitching is inconsistent. The offense seems to be better. So I'm happy with that. But when you don't have the pitching and you're going to lose these 7-6 type games,
it's not a good situation to be in.
Now, the only thing they've got working in their favor right now is the Cardinals are off to an awful start. The Brewers now are killing it.
Brewers are off to a really damn good start.
Just swept the Mets after winning 2 out of 3 from the Cubs. So Craig Counsell, again, very underrated as a manager.
Yep, I would have liked him on the South Side.
I think any team would take him outside of 2 or 3 who've got, like a Bruce Bochy.
Yeah.
Somebody like that. But I think the Yankees would take him. Jesus God, he's got to be better than Aaron Boone.
Oh, hands down.
But again, early.
We'll see what happens.
Barely a week in. As I mentioned, the Tampa Bay Rays, awesome.
Yep. And thank God for the Rangers' Josh Smith taking a fastball to the face the other night. Thankfully, no fractures, just required 6 stitches, cleared concussion protocol. Always a scary situation.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's just the nature of the beast with baseball.
Yeah.
Whether it's the fastball, high and tight, up and in.
Or sometimes they just get away.
Or the line drive coming off the bat, heading back to the pitcher.
Yep.
Faster than he threw the ball. So, again, let's hope they don't snowflake this and just realize this is part of the game. It's just like football players going to blow knees out.
It happens.
Basketball players going to blow knees out. Baseball players are going to get hit in the face, whether as a batter or as a pitcher.
It's going to happen.
All right. Big weekend for golf. Arguably the biggest weekend of the year. But we have a new wrinkle this year. As now the Masters starts on the 6th of April, Thursday, as this drops that morning. You guys are getting up, listening to Sports Frenzy, then you can go right into the Masters.
Yep.
Interesting how now we have the PGA guys versus the Live Golf guys.
Yep.
I saw the pairings.
Augusta wanted the best players in the world for the best possible tournament, and they got everybody.
Yes, Augusta, of course, said the Live golfers were welcome for this year. But if you looked at the pairings, who's playing with who, they were very canny about how they separated.
Yes.
They didn't put any live golfers with Rory McIlroy.
Oh, I would have put Rory with Phil.
So you're not going to see a lot of fireworks for the first 2 days. Now, when you start setting things up based on the schedules and the scores for the weekend,
then
you can't control it. Then you can't control it. It's based on who's playing the best for the Saturday and the Sunday pairings. So
it's all going to get mixed up.
They can't manipulate that.
No.
They can't manipulate that. So we shall see. Of course, I believe Scotty Scheffler is the favorite.
Yep, to repeat.
But again, like Dave said, once we get to Saturday, hopefully Tiger Woods is gone. Number one. God, please. Please, God.
Please.
But
and wouldn't it be lovely if Rory was out of it by Friday?
I want to see him and Patrick Reed in the same pairing. Oh, God, that would be awesome. That would be awesome.
That could be fun.
But next week, of course, we will discuss the outcome. We will let you know who's got the green jacket. If there was any kind of throwdown, smackdown between a live golfer and a PGA Tour guy.
Yep. Gee, funny you should mention SmackDown with the wrestling and UFC coming under one ownership group.
Yeah, now normally we would talk, the actual in-ring stuff with wrestling. That's weekend edition stuff.
Right.
Because that's fiction. But this is sports business. This involves the UFC, which is a legitimate real sport. The Endeavor Group, which is the parent company of UFC, is the winner. We've been talking about the fact that WWE was up for sale. Vince McMahon weaseled his way back in, and we'll talk more about him on the weekend edition.
And he's weaseling everywhere.
We will talk more about Vince on the weekend edition and his wonderful new look. But from a purely sports business standpoint, the Endeavor Group acquires 51% of WWE. They will now merge with UFC to combine one sports company. Now, fans, initially a little bit of trepidation. Everything seems like it's going to just keep running like it has been.
WWE goes one way, UFC their own way. You cannot merge the two. It just won't work.
Triple H, of course, head of creative for WWE, came out on Raw Monday night after the news broke, ensured everybody that the WWE is not changing. Nothing about it is changing. And why would you?
Right.
Given the viewership numbers this past weekend on Peacock for WrestleMania. Now you've got a $21.4 billion company when you combine monetarily the values of UFC and WWE.
It's a juggernaut company.
Yeah. The one thing that scares me as a fan of wrestling is that now the media rights for WWE come up in the fall of 2024. And we all know the saying, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. And I have been ecstatic with the fact that I've been able to watch for the last few years all the pay-per-views, the WrestleManias, Backlash, Hell in a Cell, whatever it might be, Survivor Series, Money in the Bank for $5 a month on Peacock. Whereas it used to be $30-$40 a pop to buy those.
Yeah.
I am just scared to death that when the Endeavor Group, with what they do with the UFC, gets involved, they're going to go back to that old model.
Yeah, but if it's working, if more people are tuning in because of this, why would you screw it up?
Again, we've got a little over a year and a half to go before the media rights have to renew. I'm scared to death that, like with the UFC, it's going to go to ESPN Plus. And I do, because ESPN's already got they weaseled their way in. They do, if you go on their website, they do have an area where they cover WWE. This was before the Endeavor Group acquisition.
Stay away from ESPN and the Rat. Do not keep them involved.
I am with you.
Everything
it's working
they
right
touch.
now. It's working right now with what they've got with Raw on USA, with SmackDown on Fox Friday nights, with the $5 Peacock a month.
They are the strongest viewership they've had in a long damn time.
Again, though, when I see what they do with the UFC business model, that's what scares me.
Maybe because they'll get smart.
They're still doing the pay-per-view stuff.
Maybe the UFC will be smart and look at what WWE is doing and change their business model.
We shall see. Again, we're still a year and a half away from it, so of course we'll report on it down the road. And of course, on the weekend edition, we will discuss
full WrestleMania wrap-up.
WrestleMania 39 wrap-up coming this Saturday morning on the weekend edition. Now, some positivity. We had negative stuff when it came to the women's NCAA championship. We had negativity here when we were talking about baseball. Let's do some positive stuff. I have got two Clint Eastwood badasses of the week in the sports world. Now, one you might not agree with. Some of you out there might be a little bit sympathetic to the victim. Dave, what is the rule in any sport? Soccer, baseball, football. What do? You do not, as a fan, do what?
You do not run onto the field.
Some jackass at Dodger Stadium thought it would be cool. His name is Ricardo Juarez. Thought it'd be cool. I believe it was opening night.
He should have his ass handed to him by everybody on the field.
Runs out on the field to do a proposal to his girlfriend in the stands.
You don't run out onto the field for any reason.
I don't have the name of the security guard, but you guys can look it up on YouTube. The video clip is out there. Watching as this guy gets down on one knee and a security guard just levels him. I've heard people, not Bears fans, this is how legendary this hit was. People who are not Bears fans, I heard calling this a Mike Singletary hit. That is number one. A tribute to Mike Singletary that he impacts people outside of the Bears community and how awesome he was.
Yep, for bringing the thunder.
But yeah, this security guard at Dodger Stadium leveled this proposer.
You know what? Serves him right. You do not go on the field, period. End of conversation.
And Mr. Juarez, not only did he wake up a little sore the next morning, he got a 1-year ban.
Good.
From all Dodgers games.
Good. He should. There is no excuse.
Now, the Portland Trailblazers, they're done. They're cooked. Their season's pretty much over. We've talked a couple weeks ago about their star player, Damian Lillard, is out, shut down for the year. April the 2nd, the Portland Trailblazers pulled off the biggest upset in 30 years in the NBA. They were 19.5-point underdogs playing the Minnesota Timberwolves in Minnesota, who are fighting
for the number one.
For their positioning in the playoffs. East. I think they're fighting for the number one in the play-in tournament.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. It's I was thinking the Bucks. It's the Wolves.
Yeah. Bucks in the East. The Wolves are in the West. So they didn't have Damian Lillard. They had 3 other starters out. The Trailblazers. They had lost 11 of their previous 12 games. Again, 19.5-point underdogs. They go into Minnesota and beat the Timberwolves 107-105.
Good for them.
Good for those players.
Good for them.
Because even though all NBA players are vastly overpaid, You got to figure these were the guys at the end of the bench.
These are the guys who are playing for something. They've got something to prove. They're not prima donnas. They're out there to show up. I like it.
Yeah, so every once in a while, as much as we rip on the NBA and talk about how it's maybe possibly fixed, because all of a sudden now the Lakers are on a run.
Oh,
isn't that amazing how that happened all of a sudden?
Yeah, it sucks that they're now in. They have a shot at moving up to the 5 or 6 seed.
Yeah.
All of a sudden.
Yeah, and
from
conveniently, I believe if they get that 6 seed, their first round matchup would be against the Sacramento Kings, who, while they've had a great season, everybody wants to play them because they think they can beat them.
Yeah. Ugh.
All right, NASCAR coming up, kids. Dumbasses of the week in a moment of silence. Dave and I will be right back. Are you having trouble falling asleep behind the wheel of your expensive SUV? Are you finding difficulty in avoiding golf clubs thrown at you by your angry wife as you pull out of the driveway? Sign up today for the Tiger Woods Driving School, sponsored by Sports Frenzy 2.0. We'll show you how to text ladies of the night while still driving effectively in the wee hours of the morning. We'll also teach you how to ditch a suspicious backpack when you end up driving into a ditch. Check out Sports Frenzy 2.0 on Spotify, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, for updates on our latest classes, including how to curse and swear in front of uptight golf fans and their children and still be adored by millions. The Tiger Woods Driving School. It's great. All right, everybody, third and final segment here, Sports Frenzy 2.0, April the 5th, 2023. Of course, as always, this will hit Thursday morning, in this case, April the 6th. He's a conquistador, Dave Heights.
He's the maestro, Kevin Crane.
And I think the conquistador has got some issues with NASCAR.
I always have issues with NASCAR.
So, of course, once we wrap up our recap of COTA, and talk about the Bristol.
Got the recap of Richmond, but thank you for the perfect segue for what happened at COTA.
Well, I'm glad that me screwing up my notes and not putting down Richmond and putting down COTA works to your favor. So please.
It does, because if you remember at the end of COTA, Daniel Suarez took exception with his teammate, Ross Chastain, knocked into him on the final cool-down lap, and then on pit road ran into Bowman's car. Now, he was only fined $50,000 for that incident. Again, no fucking consistency in the rules from NASCAR and their penalties. Last year, Ty Gibbs in the Xfinity for hitting a competitor on pit road that way fined $75,000 and lost 25 points. What the hell are you doing? Same damn thing happened, completely different penalties.
Now, I will say this, and we talked about this last week, of course, with the big overturn last week.
Exactly.
For Hendrick Motorsports, where all three of their drivers got 100 points reinstated, even though Hendrick was messing with the louvers.
Yep.
When I watched the Richmond race this past Sunday, yes, not COTA, Richmond, I got it right now. I fixed it. My notes are correct now. Mike Joy, Clint Boyer, of course, in the booth talking about this. I give them credit because they kind of clarified things about that. And they said NASCAR is not happy because this boils down to the appeals board. NASCAR was pissed about this Hendrick penalty getting overturned because, as they discussed it, they said, you basically just took NASCAR's one big hammer away to penalize these teams for messing with parts on this next-gen car. And if you're
Okay.
going to overturn the penalties, now
Why
it's
the hell
free
should
reign.
we do it?
Now it's free reign. Now
everybody's going to be
push
messing
it.
with everything.
Everybody's going to be trying to tweak
well,
things.
Hendrick got away with playing with parts. Why can't I?
The appeals board
effed it all up.
They set a precedent that's going to screw NASCAR. So NASCAR might be misguided to be angry at them. They should be mad at the appeals board. The appeals board, in this case at least, going back to last week to the Hendrick situation, they're the ones to blame here. NASCAR's not happy about this because now they don't have that big penalty hammer to bring down on these teams.
Yeah, the appeals board needs to have their damn heads examined. But there's still no excuse for not hitting Suarez with 75,025 points. Precedent was set for the penalty last year, and it should carry forward. That's on NASCAR right there.
Agree completely. If the precedent is set now, again.
But again, the appeals board fucked it up. So apologies to NASCAR last week, because I think I inadvertently blamed them on the overturn.
It's understandable. Most people would. Most people would assume that it was NASCAR, whereas the appeals board in NASCAR is independent. It's not like the NFL.
And you know what?
Where it goes to the commissioner's office.
Yeah.
This is a completely different.
Then the hell with the appeals board. Everybody, write the appeals board and tell them what pieces of garbage they are for undermining this.
And for basically now opening the door to
give carte blanche to cheating.
Yeah, turning NASCAR into F1. Basically saying there's one team that we're going to kiss their ass at the expense of everybody else.
Yep, there you go. All right.
The team owners meeting, the boycott.
Yep, team owners boycotted the quarterly meeting today as we tape on the 5th with NASCAR in protest over the revenue sharing.
Yeah, now initially when I heard this, I didn't read the whole story initially. I got wrapped up in something else, had to go back later. I initially was hoping that this was in protest of the Hendrick situation.
Yeah.
I was hoping that the other team owners were boycotting because of the penalties being overturned on Hendrick. Of course not.
Nope. It's about money, as it always is.
And I after I read that, and then a subsequent article, a couple inches below on my computer screen, was talking about the ratings for the Richmond race and how they were down significantly from last year. And that has been a pattern this entire season as we've gone through 7 races. They better be very, very careful where they're stepping here.
Yep,
in trying to get more money, bleeding, a stone. If your ratings are dropping, when you have to negotiate your next rights deal, which is coming up, and you've got these numbers, it's going to be less money, not more money coming in, less money, less advertising money.
Yep. So you're going to have a smaller piece of the pie. So you got to watch what you're doing.
Instead of doing this kind of crap, this petulant type of, we want more stuff, why don't you work together? Try to figure out how to get ratings up. Try to figure out in the next rights deal how it will work for everybody.
Yep. And really, how much of the pie should be going to NASCAR versus what should be going to the teams?
Right.
So you got NASCAR really has to take a hard look in the mirror too.
But the only thing you got to worry about is if the pie is getting smaller,
you can get a bigger
piece of the pie,
but it's still going to be a smaller percentage.
It's going to be money compared to what you had in the past.
Exactly.
All right. Now, again, fix my notes. And again, so happy that it worked out. My stupidity worked out in favor of Dave. And
perfect.
Him getting a wonderful segue in Dakota. We have to recap Richmond, this past weekend's race. Kyle Larson wins. Of course, the lineup was set by rain. Of course, they've got now this massive,
Convoluted,
ridiculous
retarded
formula.
Yeah, that nobody can figure out.
So Alex Bowman got the pole. Of course, if it had been the week before, it wouldn't have been him because he was still under penalty.
Right.
But because he got his 100 points back,
boom,
he gets the pole.
Bullshit.
His teammate, who of course got his 100 points back as well, Kyle Larson ends up winning. Impressively, again, another Hendrick car.
Yep.
Josh Berry finishes second.
Yep.
Subbing for Chase Elliott.
And the other Hendrick car, Byron, one of the most dominant cars of the day.
Who'd you have this past weekend?
Byron, who got screwed. Damn Christopher Bell to hell.
Who'd your wife pick this weekend?
Christopher Bell.
I was wondering.
Bullshit.
I was wondering if the Height household was a little tense.
It was very tense at the end when Bell dumped Byron on the restart. And then Bell tries to blame Chastain for undercutting him.
Everybody blames Chastain. You should know this.
Stop blaming Chastain. Chastain was in no way, shape, or form the cause of this problem. It was Bell's fault for dumping Byron, plain and simple. Leave Chastain the hell out of it.
Yeah, Bell clearly moved up into Byron.
Instead of backing off, he just wrecked him to...
Yep. Hey, you could have had my man, Denny Hamlin, who doesn't still to this day know what the fuck a speed limit is on pit road. Not once, but twice gets speeding penalties after setting himself up through 2 segments as the dominant car. And I thought I got a back-to-back win, baby. I got back-to-back. No. Denny doesn't understand speeding penalties on pit road.
Happy Jack screwed up.
He'll never win a title. He will never be a cup champion.
No, he shoots himself in the foot time and time again.
He is going to go down with Carl Edwards as 2 of the greatest drivers never to win a cup championship. I'm convinced of it.
Yeah, and I still will take Mark Martin over the 2 of them any day of the week.
Yep. So Larson wins, as we mentioned, first win for him of the year. But will he repeat as we go to the track that he is favored for, the race that he is favored for, Easter Sunday night, race 8 of the 2023 Cup season, April the 9th, the Food City Dirt Race at Bristol.
I am so sick of the fucking dirt. Stop. You've already ruined the track at Bristol with the progressive banking. You tried to put it back and you failed. And now you got the stupid dirt. It doesn't work. Not with these cars. It's done. The novelty is over. End it. The fans are tired of it. We don't care. If you want them to run on dirt, put them at Eldora, which is an actual dirt track. The banking at Bristol does not lend itself well to the dirt.
Agree completely.
Go to
Eldora.
God.
Go to Eldora if you want to do this. Completely agree. Now, that being said, 6 of our 8 panelists have their picks in for the third, right? This is the third dirt race.
The third dirt race, and please let it be the final. Stop the stupidity.
Well, there is no. My understanding is there is no long-term agreement on this. This is kind of like a year or 2-year deal.
Please don't do it again.
Same thing with what we're getting coming up with the Chicago Street Course.
Yeah. We'll see what happens.
All right. I was very, very blatant in my wink, wink, hint, hint of who I'm taking.
Mr. Larson?
I think he's going back to back. I think he's obviously the favorite in terms of the odds makers. I flirted with Christopher Bell. I know Tyler Reddick is a popular pick for this track. I will say this. I'm not trying to disparage other members of our panel, but they're buying into the whole Joey Logano thing.
That was a one-off.
I think it's a little fluky with him.
That was kind of fluky. I'm going with Kyle Busch back to back.
He almost won last year.
Kyle Busch did win last year. He almost beat Logano the year before.
Sorry, yeah, right.
So Kyle, this is Kyle's kind of race. So I'm hoping for back-to-back dirt wins for Kyle.
Now Tyler Reddick for Sam, good pick. As I mentioned, Bill and Aaron drinking the Logano Kool-Aid. They're both going with Joey. Doug with a very odd pick to me. I'm wondering if he's not looking at the regular Bristol stats. He goes with Martin Truex Jr.
Not on the dirt.
Yeah, I don't know if I like that pick. Still waiting on Mrs. C and the juggler, but of course there are 55 minutes left before our pick deadline. So it's all good.
It's all okay. Good.
All right, moving on. We have one moment of silence. I will hand it over to the conquistador.
Yep. We are going, God help me, moment of silence for former Green Bay Packer, John Brockington, all-pro running back for the Packers. As a rookie in 1971, he set the rushing record for rookies with 1,105 yards. Still nothing to shake a stick at today. That's still impressive numbers. But he was the first player in the NFL to rush for over 1,000 yards in his first 3 seasons. So, thoughts and prayers to the Brockington family. He's still one of the Packers' all-time leading running backs, over 5,000 yards for his career in their Hall of Fame. So, yeah, before my time of watching, actually, that was the year I was born. So,
don't date yourself, Dave.
There you go.
Yeah, with how running backs have gone up in value from his time in the 80s into the 90s and then devalued here over the last 10, 15 years or so. His numbers still aren't bad, and his marks are very impressive.
Yeah.
And it doesn't shock me that he is one of the all-time rushers for the Packers, because while they have been incredibly lucky in the quarterback lottery.
Yeah, not so much on the running backs.
Right. Yes. The Bears have got the Packers on that one.
Yes.
And we're not just talking about the greatest of all time.
Number 34.
But you could even take Neil Anderson. You could take Thomas Jones, Matt Forte.
And on and on.
Yep. All right. We're not going to play dumbass or not this week. Only got 3. But unfortunately, we just cannot get away from women's basketball. But first, let's go baseball. Even though they're off, as we mentioned earlier, to a 5-1 record, they swept the Mets. They beat the Cubs 2 out of 3. It hasn't been all sunshine and roses for the Milwaukee Brewers. In fact, the sunshine part was the problem. The Brewers' home opener, they didn't like the weather. They decided to close the roof for the home opener at the Brewers Stadium. Problem is, nobody told the guys in the jets doing the flyover.
Oh, God.
The fans did not get to see the flyover for the home opener on opening day because the Brewers decided to close the roof.
How pathetic is that?
So those poor pilots flying in formation over the stadium there in Milwaukee, and nobody can see it.
Hey, they got a little seat time. They got a little practice in.
All right, Goose.
There you go.
Way to go, Mav. All right, as I mentioned, the last 2 dumbasses, we have to go back to women's basketball. And again, this person, I have already got her booked on the Plane of Doom. I hate her. I can't stand the fact she's in these Aflac commercials now with Mike Krzyzewski,
who is also on the Plane of Doom.
Of course, we're talking about South Carolina head coach Dawn Staley, a raging racist. Of course, we know Iowa and LSU were in the final game, the championship game. Oh, what happened to South Carolina? Well, Iowa beat them, snapping their 42-game win streak. But of course, the racist Dawn Staley took exception to what she perceived as the media ganging up on her team. We're not thugs. We're not monkeys. Direct quote.
Did anybody call them that?
Another direct quote. Do not judge us by the color of our skin.
What the hell does that got to do with them losing?
Defensive much?
Seriously.
When you hear this type of stuff,
I don't
this
think I've
screams racism.
ever heard that team referred to in that way.
That's why I'm saying she's paranoid. She's
What
racist
the
and she's paranoid.
hell?
She is racist and she's paranoid.
You know,
because I agree with you. I've never heard that.
Player,
if
I were one of her players, I would take exception with her making those comments. I would be pissed as a player if my coach said something like that.
You would hope. You would hope that.
My God.
But again, we're talking about a grown adult woman saying these things versus 21-year-old kids.
For what? There's no reason.
Other than the fact that, again, she likes to turn everything into a racial diatribe. Everything's got to be about race. She acts like
taking the focus away from the fact that her team got outplayed and she got outcoached.
Well, and here's another thing. And I did not look at the roster for South Carolina. I guess I was one of the people that didn't watch any women's basketball. But for her to say that, does that mean that there are no white people on her team?
I have no idea.
Can you imagine if you were a white player on that team with her saying things like this? Just saying. And again, we're not politically correct here. I'm calling it as I see it. I'm not apologizing for it. She should apologize.
She should apologize for making those kind of statements about her own damn team. That's ridiculous.
It's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic is what it is. And speaking of pathetic, to wrap up Sports Frenzy 2.0 this week, of course, do not forget to check out the weekend edition. We're going to talk about Black Star Riders. We're going to talk about Perry Mason. Ugh, again, disappointing. Dave's got a movie review for you. I've got a rant about our podunk city we live in and how it's screwing up my ability to go see John Wick Chapter 4.
I had a book review.
We've actually got some book headlines to discuss too.
We do.
So, before we get there, on Saturday morning, April the 8th, don't forget to check it out. Of course, check out the Facebook page. You will find our NASCAR picks every week. You will find our baseball picks every week. Did I mention I took Tampa Bay this week? 6-0.
It's early.
Hey, I had a very, very mediocre to poor showing with March Madness, whereas you finished second. Good for you. I gotta get my props somewhere, wherever I can get them. Baseball, I'm good at. I'm gonna ride this pony as long as I can.
That's what she said.
Until it shits out its heart and bleeds out its kidneys. I'm riding this pony. All right, finally. Yes. Brittany Griner. Oh, remember, kids? We gave up the Merchant of Death so she could be free and get back to vaping her marijuana oil. Well, of course, now she's got to insert herself now that we're seeing more people, more Americans being incarcerated overseas. Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich detained in Russia. So, of course, Brittany Griner.
Why was he still over there? Weren't all Americans told to get out?
Well, of course, Brittany Griner and her husband, wife, partner, she-male, whatever she might be, they have to put out an Instagram post asking for President Biden to, of course, insert himself in this and fight for the release of Mr. Gershkovich. Here's my problem with this. She does not mention at all in this Instagram post one Paul Whelan,
who's been there a hell of a lot longer
and should have been part of the deal,
who should have been brought back before her because he's been there longer.
But again, we give up the merchant of death for Brittany Griner, and now she's more worried about the recently detained Evan Gershkovich because, of course, he's a Wall Street Journal reporter, so he's more important.
Bullshit.
Than Paul Whelan. Paul Whelan is the guy, like Dave said, who's been there longer, who's been stuck in Russia longer than Brittany Griner was. Yet she doesn't have the sense, the savvy, the intelligence to maybe mention him. She mentioned 2 or 3 other names of other people being detained in Russia, Americans.
But she's a clueless twit.
But she doesn't mention Paul Whelan, the guy who should have been part of the negotiations when it came to the merchant of death. So once again, Brittany Griner, you clueless, asexual twit, whatever you are, you're a dumbass.
That wraps up the week.
I cannot stand the stupidity when it comes
and
to
arrogance.
Now, all of a sudden, she's going to tell the president what to do. She's going to tell the president what to do.
There you go.
Again, check out the weekend edition this Saturday morning. Your hangover cure, WrestleMania recap. How could I forget to bring that up?
There you go.
Everybody wants to hear the Maestro's WrestleMania recap, with the exception of maybe Dave.
Hey, I looked up some of the results.
They fooled me on a couple. They fooled me on a couple. They did. I give them credit for that.
The main one, did I not tell you?
They fooled me on a couple. I think 6 titles were on the line out of the 7 possible. And I think my predictions, I was 4-2. But boy, I missed on the one big one. Which I have been saying for a year was going to happen, and it did not happen. Shocked me beyond belief.
I believe I mentioned something last week.
Of course, that's your tease. That's what we use to rope you in. So you have to listen to the weekend edition.
If you want to know what we're talking about.
Again, for the final time this week, he's a Conquistador Dave Height.
He's a Maestro Kevin Crane.
Check out the weekend edition. We love you. We'll be back here next Thursday morning with more sports, Masters recap.
Yep, we'll rant back at you at that time.
The play-in tournaments in the NBA will have started.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, because the regular season ends Sunday. So, yeah.
Color me excited.
We will talk to you next week, kids. As always, take care. See ya.